Former presidential candidate and Senator John Edwards indicted on conspiracy and violating campaign laws. So our legal guys are back for this one. Avery Friedman in Cleveland and Richard Herman in Las Vegas. Guys, let's kind of get people up to speed. John Edwards actually went to federal court yesterday in North Carolina, said he didn't do anything wrong. He's accused of basically using money from some wealthy donors to hide his affair with Rielle Hunter, which everyone says clearly is morally wrong. The question is whether or not it is legally wrong. Avery, I'll let you go first this time. Do you think the prosecution has a case here?
Well, there's something there, Rochelle. They are using a theory that is untested in American jurisprudential history. They're relying on a 2000 internal opinion at the Elections Commission, and there is no case law supporting it. This is the first indictment, frankly, I've seen in decades, if ever, that relies on a National Enquirer article. And the bottom line is, while they're going to look to the sleaze factor, a federal district judge may very well throw the case out because of the unprecedented nature of the case.
Richard, do you agree? Is this ever going to get to a jury?
Oh, I think there's a chance it gets to the jury, Rochelle, but the problem here is that he's relying upon, Edwards acknowledges, yes, this money was used to cover up his relationship with Rielle towards his wife, Elizabeth. But the money was not politically funded. It was personal donations to him, which he's allowed to use any which way he wants. That's going to be his defense. Avery's right. The statute is extremely vague. It's never been used before. I think he's got a good case, but there's a conspiracy element to it. There's also a false filing to the government, which, you know, Martha Stewart got convicted of false statements to the government. So I don't know. You know, his hair is going to get a little messy on this one before it's over.
You had to do that. You just leave him alone.
You knew it was coming. You knew
All right, guys. Speaking of hair, former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich is back on the stand in his retrial.
Good one, Rochelle. That was good.
Facing,
good segue.
But he's facing 20 criminal counts, guys. He is charged, of course, with trying to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat. He is testifying this time around. He did not the first time. We all know he can talk. Is it benefiting him to be testifying? Avery?
No. I mean, the bottom line, no. I mean, look, U.S. District Judge James Agel, who's presiding over this, you usually don't see circuses in federal district courts. We're seeing one in Chicago. It's out of control. This judge has warned Blagojevich 16 times, literally, to stay on message. And whether it's getting anywhere, I think what Blago's trying to do is make the jury like him. And I don't think it's working. Well, I just don't think it's working.
But he did get enough people to like him to elect him governor, so I think that's where he's probably going with this. Richard, is it plausible what he's saying? He's saying that I did all these things for the benefit of my state. I'm just asking.
He's saying he's saying for the benefit of the state, except he wanted a major political appointment to support the benefit of his state. I don't know how that supports his state by him getting a political appointment as a result of an office given. But, you know, here's the thing. When a defendant takes the stand, Rochelle, it's extremely dangerous because juries are very forgiving to government witnesses when they get caught up in a lie. But when a defendant is on the stand and gets caught in a lie, Rochelle, the jury just says, you know what, he lied here, I don't believe anything he's saying, and they come back and bang on.
That's right.
So I think it's very dangerous. I think he can't keep his mouth shut, like Avery said, and I think he's going to get convicted this time around.
This time around. Okay, guys, let's talk about this. Remember, we weren't even supposed to be here past May 21st because of that doomsday prophet. And actually, I've had some viewers take exception to me calling him a prophet because clearly he was wrong. But a woman left her entire estate, about $300,000, to this group, this family radio group, because she believed in this doomsday warning. And she actually passed away on May 2nd. Left them all her money. Her family says she would not have done that had she realized we would all be here beyond May 21st. Does her family have a shot at getting this money back? Richard?
Yeah, I don't think so, Rochelle. I think that this family radio network was important to her. There's testimony or there's statements that she listened to it 24/7 in the morning, day, night. She found comfort in this statement. She had a very troubled and tough life, and she found comfort, and she wanted to make this bequest. And unless you can show that it was fraudulent or she was under some sort of, duress, I think it's good. I think the will's going to stand. I think the family's out of luck.
Avery, you're nodding your head rather. You agree?
Yeah, look, I mean, Harold Camping, by the way, is attempting to vindicate himself. He's the doomsday prophet. He said on the 21st, the world was destroyed spiritually, but he's now predicting the physical destruction in October. Yeah. Boy, this guy is something. 89 years old. Hey, Doris Schmidt has a right to do what she wants to do other than fraud or if she is not lucid. The bottom line, 250 grand goes to Harold out in Oakland, California. 25 grand goes to each of the nieces.
All right, guys, it was great talking to you. We appreciate it. I appreciate it very, very much. Avery Friedman and Richard Herman, thank you.